Good afternoon, fellow LLG. How are you guys doing? This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology, and I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. And here I am, pop up live. You did not expect it, you did not anticipate it. Um, I indicated last week sometime that this week was going to be a little different, and it's different because we have some things going on later this week, and so I am doing a couple of things that we've talked about, and so I'll go through that here in just a minute. But I am today actually starting my fast. Normally we start our fast tomorrow after lunch, after our team meeting, but this week we have some scheduling things that are going on later this week, and so I've pushed my fasting window up so that I can get my fast in for the week. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I've got right here what I'm going to eat as my last meal before we get into the fast for this week, so we'll show you that in just a minute. But a couple of points that I wanted to make as we move into the conversation. First, laying the foundation, laying the groundwork for what we're doing. There are currently over 1 billion people on the planet who have prediabetes or diabetes. And that number does not include those people who are obese, those people who have coronary artery disease, those people who have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, those people who are at risk for strokes and peripheral artery disease. And we can go on and on and on in that metabolic spectrum. So that 1 billion is really simply talking about the people who have prediabetes and diabetes. All those others, that number gets, right, the number of people who have them is larger. And so in our space, on our channel, the goal is to help people understand how to improve their metabolic health. We can talk about health in lots of different ways. We can talk about skin health. We can talk, anyway, lots of different ways. But here specifically, we're talking about metabolic health. And when we talk about metabolism, metabolism is the way that the body takes food and converts it to energy. Simply put, there are other nuances that we can get into, but that definition, I think, is workable for most of us as we think about metabolism. And so anytime there is dysregulation in that process, whether the food that we eat or somehow the body doesn't convert it properly, or it converts it properly, but then it has some issues managing it, or it stores it excessively, anything along that spectrum leads to what we term dysfunctional metabolism. And that leads to a lot of the chronic diseases that we talk about when we are talking about chronic metabolic diseases. And those are things like we mentioned a little while ago, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and so forth. And so in the process of saying, how do we correct metabolism, we've been talking about our Limitless Living Health Action Plan. It is a blueprint. It is a set of guardrails. It is a set of safety guidelines. It is a set of checklists, or it is a checklist that says, if I follow this path, if I walk through this process, if I follow this blueprint, if I look at these guardrails, if I'm mindful of the guardrails, then I am writing my metabolic ship. And that is what we're doing. As part of that, one of the pillars in the health action plan is fasting. And so on a weekly basis, we do a fast. And that's what you see if you've been around us, if you've been watching, if you've been hearing, if you've been seeing things pop up. That's what we're doing right now, is we're fasting, and I'm getting into the fast. Now, this week is a little different because I normally start the fast on Tuesday. So I fast from Tuesday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Thursday, and Thursday to Friday, right? So 72 hours is what I usually do for my fast. And I encourage everyone in the community that everyone, unless there is a compelling medical reason, everyone should be able to fast for at least a 24-hour period once a week. And so if you have a medical issue, if you have some compelling reasons, if you have a history of eating disorders, if you are pregnant or a nursing mother, if you are a child, then right now we're not including you in this group unless you've talked to your healthcare provider and you guys have come up with a plan. Everybody else should be able to fast for at least a 24-hour period once a week. That is a start. And so in the space, that's what you see us doing. And if we're going to fast, the question is, how do we fast successfully? Because remember, fasting is simply a tool. It is not a panacea. It is not the ultimate. It is not the greatest. It is not the super thing that fixes everything. But fasting is a tool, and we are simply saying, how do we use this tool in the process of righting our metabolism? And if we're going to use the tool, we got to know how to use the tool properly. And that's what you see us doing, so that you see me doing on a weekly basis, going through the process of talking about fasting, the different facets of fasting, different types of fasting, what happens in the body when we fast, how to prepare for a fast, how to get through the fast, how to end the fast. That is the process. And because this week I am out of my schedule will be different. At the end of the week, I have decided to shift my fast up by 1 day. So let's talk about that. So there are lots of reasons why we get off schedule. And we get off schedule, and life, I'm not going to say life happens, because I'm actually starting not to like that phrase, that life happens. Because when we say life happens, it seems to indicate that because life happens, then everything else gets put in the back burner. And the reason I understand why we say it, and I've said it for years, right? I've used it for years. I've taught it for years, that life happens. And when I teach it, I usually tell people, when life happens, then you blah, 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 right? Whatever it is. You compensate, you pivot, you twist. What I would rather say is not that life happens. I would rather say that your process changes. When the process changes, we have a choice on how to respond to the change. When life happens, it just and maybe it's a little semantic, but anyway, that's the idea. And so as I am going through this week, we have some changes in our schedule later on this week. I want to talk about, what do you do in that case? What is the backup plan? What is plan B? What is whatever it is? And so as you've watched me over the course of our time together, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that when I travel, I will make one of two decisions. Either I will continue the fast on whatever traveling I'm doing, or I will change the fasting schedule. And this time I decided to change the fasting schedule, and I want to get my fasting in, because it is my tool. It is an amazing tool that I use on a regular basis. So I don't want to not do it this week. That's a choice. There have been a couple of times where I've made a choice that, for this week I'll fast for 24 hours, or this week I'll fast for 48 hours, or whatever the number is. This time I've decided I'm going to do the complete fast. And if I'm going to do that, because of the schedule changes later in the week, I moved my fast up by 24 hours, and that's where you find me now. And so I'm about to start the fast, or eat the last meal before I get into the fast. So we'll be fasting for Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday is when I will break the fast as we get into the rest of the week. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the discussion. The second thing that today is an example of, so number one, it is the fact that you can change, right? So when schedules change, you can change. That's the first thing. The other thing is, I actually did not make that decision until this morning, all right? Because my plan was, well, I've been kind of thinking about it over the last couple of weeks, and my plan was, this is a perfect example of doing the fast and showing people how to do the fast in the midst of the schedule. But as I went through the process, for me, I thought it was a better idea to get the fast in, be done with the fast, and then get on to the rest of the schedule for the week. And so this morning I decided to do this. And the two things that I want to point as a result of that is, one, I've asked you all to come up with what is your default meal. Like when you're out somewhere, or you're traveling, or you're wherever, or you can't get home in time to get the meal that you planned, what is your default meal? And as you know, a component of my default meal is always a salad, and we'll show you that here in a minute, is always a salad. And when I went down to the cafeteria, they had the salad, but I was looking through, okay, what's going to be my protein? And so I have some hamburger patty and some cheese. So we'll take a look at that. So when I went down, it wasn't a panic, because I already knew what my default meal was. And downstairs in the cafeteria, it is a salad always, right? So they always have salads. Or when I'm out, there's a salad. And okay, what do I add to that to get me healthy fats and lean protein? And so the healthy fats, I've got some cheese that's on here, and the protein is the hamburger patty. Okay, enough said about that. So that was the first thing, right? So one, changing the schedule, you can do that. Number two is, what is your default meal? And then number three, it is not a big deal. Let me pause there for a minute. So fasting fits into your schedule. Fasting is a part of your schedule. Fasting is not some anomaly that we do and then, oh my God, we get back to our normal life. Fasting is a part of my life. And so fasting, not a big deal. Not oh man, I can't fast this week because of whatever it is. If I had decided to not fast this week, that's okay. If I decided to fast during the scheduling issues that not issues, but the scheduling change that we have, that's okay. I made a decision based on my needs and based on how I thought, and I'm fasting today. So three main points there, right? That you can change anytime you want. That you should have a default meal. And number three, it's not a big deal. It is a tool that you use. You use the tool as optimally as you can. So fasting is not intended for you to use it to beat yourself over the head or beat other people over the head because they didn't fast, or because they're not fasting, or because they made a decision that you would not have made. That's not your decision, but it is their decision. This isn't your decision. This is my decision. And just like when you make a decision about how you're going to use the tool, we use the tool that in a way that works for us. Let me give you an example. One of the reasons that fasting doesn't work for a lot of people when they do different types of fast, intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, 5 and 2, whatever it is scheduling. And it goes kind of like this. Okay, I'm going to decide I'm going to fast. Okay, I'm going to do an intermittent fasting. And I'm going to do intermittent fasting. And I'm going to start intermittent fasting at 5 o'clock at night. So that's going to be my last meal. And I'm not going to eat again until the next morning, because I'm going to do a 16. Right? So 5 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock in the morning, that's 12. And then I need 4 more hours, right? 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 o'clock, I'm going to eat 8 o'clock in the morning. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, 9 o'clock. Right? So that's going to be my 16. Well, if my family sits down to eat dinner at 6 o'clock in the evening, I've automatically created a problem. Because I'm starting my fast at 5. They're not eating till 6. So one of several things can happen, but the most common conflict and the most common thing that happens there is either I become so stressed and so anxious, or there becomes such a big problem about me fasting at 5 that I say, you know what, just forget it. and I don't fast, and I end up eating with the family. Or I stick to my guns. I'm fasting at 5 o'clock. So regardless of what the husband says, the wife says, the kids say, the family says, I'm fasting at 5 o'clock. And we're frustrated, we're angry, we are out of community, and the brain doesn't like that. And eventually it says, no, we can't do this anymore. Right? Now, that situation occurred not because there is a fasting problem, it occurred because we put fasting at odds with everything else that's going on. So when we're fasting, we want to make sure that we are creating our fasting schedule in a manner that supports everything else and that everything else supports. Once again, it's not an anomaly that we're going to do, oh, every now and then I'm going to do that, and when I'm finished with fasting, I get back to my life. No. It's kind of like right now we're doing the strength, strategy, and mindset on the channel, right? We were on day 72 today. Day 72. We did the 100-day walk to consistency and health, right? So we did 109 days of that. So that is not, okay, I'm doing a challenge or I'm doing a thing, and when this thing is over, I get back to my normal life. It is intended that this is now who we are. We are people who walk. We are people who are interested in strengthening our bodies and toning our bodies. We are people who fast. We are people who are concerned about the types of foods we eat, the balanced bites, and the things that we're fueling the body with. We are people who are interested in rest and restoration. We are people who are concerned about our mindset mastery. We are people who are concerned about structure and planning. We have put all that together. We're walking through that process, and that's who we are now. And so fasting is a part of who we are. And so we've got to make sure that as we're putting that together, that we're doing all that we can to make sure that we're not setting it at odds with everything else. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to show you what I have as my meal, and then we're going to start eating. If you are with us, if you're out there, and I know this is a shift from what you normally are used to. You're normally used to seeing me fasting starting on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday, and then Friday. This week is going to be Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Thursday will be the end of our fast. We will have our show tonight, Dwain Woode MD Live, as we continue talking about the benefits of the health action plan and how we implement that, how we install that into our day and into our life. Let me go ahead and take the camera off the tripod. And let's see. And we're going to, how do I get you? Okay, well, let's do it this way. Okay. All right, so here we are. And so here is my salad. And this salad has some tomatoes, the banana peppers. Of course, it has the cheese that's in there. This is ranch dressing. It's got the tomatoes. And then under here, of course, we've got some cucumbers. Do it that way. Yeah, got some cucumbers and and lettuce. So I was looking for nuts. They usually have sunflower seeds down there. They did not have any. So that's where we are. And then here is my hamburger patty, and that what you see on top of that, that's hot sauce. And then down below, there's cheese, and actually there are 2 hamburger patties that are in here that I got. And so that is what I'm using as to start my fast. This is going to be my last meal. And let's walk through it. Remember, balanced bites. So whole foods. And so as you look through this, the thing that would not be whole food would be the dressing and the cheese, but everything else whole foods. Here, the cheese would not be whole foods, right? So, the hamburger patty is processed. right? So it is, they made that. I think that they made that from scratch, from hand. Those are handmade patties. Whole foods. So minimize processing, as we talked about that. So processing would be cheese and of course the dressing again. Lean protein, healthy fat. So I've got some fats in there. This is my example of a lean protein, as much as I could find. Starchy, non-starchy vegetables. So I don't have a lot of starchy vegetables here. What I do have is non-starchy stuff. So I've got cucumbers, I've got the lettuce, I've got the tomatoes. Now, of the things that are here, the thing that would drive my blood sugar up the most would probably be the tomatoes, the dressing, right? Those would be the two things that would cause spikes in my blood sugar. So lean protein, healthy fat, starchy, non-starchy, portion control. Yeah, so there you go. This is a pretty good portion. One thing about here, and sometimes I'll have people who will go to a hamburger place, and they will say to me, "Oh, my blood sugars are high, or I couldn't choose anything healthy because, I went to a fast food." And you can go to a fast food restaurant and still choose healthy things. Like here, there's no bun. Sometimes I'll tell people, if you go to a fast food place, I would much rather you have 2 hamburgers than a hamburger and a fry, right? So people will say, "Oh, you told me to have 2 hamburgers." Yes, because the fries cause the blood sugars to spike a lot more. Spiking blood sugars causes higher insulin levels. Insulin level causes a problem, right? So you get the idea. And then flavorful and tasty. Yep, boom, 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 right? So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now. So we get this back on the tripod. Boom. There we go. All right, and let's go ahead and get started eating. So this is what we're having. And of course, I did not bring a knife, so it's gonna be all right. So I started to say, if you are, we're off schedule, but if you are fasting this week, whether you're doing day 1, 2, 3, 4, or the total fast, just drop a yes. Just drop a yes in the comments. And right now, we should be on several platforms, so I can't see the comments. I do see some of you out there. So I'm not ignoring your comments if you are commenting. I just don't see those right now. I'm using a different setup. This is actually a setup that I'm going to be using. So we'll kind of figure that out. And plus, I'm using my phone and the whole thing. But yeah, delicious. So what is your default food? What is your default meal? When you start fasting, right? Or if you're out somewhere, what meal have you created as your default meal? Mine, salad and some protein. It is so good. So just a reminder that the reason for fasting, the reason fasting has such a powerful impact on our metabolism is because it is primed to hit all 3 of the pillars when we talk about reversing diabetes, decreasing insulin, suppressing appetite, reducing sugar, right? So those are the 3. Well, those same 3 are really the underpinnings of improving metabolism in every area. So what we do for fasting or what we do for diabetes, people say, well, I don't have diabetes. Yes, you don't, but diabetes is just an ultimate expression of the metabolic progression. So if it fixes that diabetes, then it also hits all of the other things that you may suffer from as it relates to metabolism. And that's why it's so powerful. Because the question that's always asked is, and we've taught it this way, I said we, the medical industry, well, what do I have to do for my diabetes? What do I have to do for my cholesterol? What do I have to do for my blood pressure? What do I have to do for my weight? And we treat them and we teach them as though they're these separated, isolated pieces, and not saying to anyone that they're all related. And so what you do for one fixes, improves, causes things to get better in another. And that's why this is such an amazing component of the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. Because if we can get that much bang for our buck, bring it on. So once again, if you are fasting this week, whether it's day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, any of those, go ahead and put yes in the comments. Yes. Let me see. Okay, so I do see Steve. I do see. Oh, I was able to. Yeah, there you go. Steve says he's having salad with chicken or steak. All right, like it. Oh, that's your default. I like it. So Steve's one of our community members. Always excited when you guys show up. Let me see. I think I can get your comment on the screen, Steve. Yep, there you go. So if you're there, go ahead and chime in. I see some of you. If you've been dabbling, if you've been kind of watching, interested in fasting, not quite sure how fasting works, several shows that we've done on the channel about it. We do our check-in for fasting 3 times a week. We used to do it 3 times. Now we do it 5 times, including these. If you have questions about fasting, drop them in the chat. Go back and watch. There's a playlist on the channel. I think it's called How to Fast Successfully. There's a playlist called How to Reverse Diabetes. And of course, we just completed our Limitless Living Health Action Plan, so there's a playlist for those. So lots of resources available on the channel so that you can get out there and you can begin the process. You know, join us on Mondays. Join us on Mondays. Actually, join us throughout the week. But Monday is our flagship show. It is at 7 p.m. Central every Monday. We're going to do a shout out tonight to some folks that may be joining us from different places. Let's see, Steve said he broke up fast today with well, let me read it first. Cucumber and tomato salad, chicken wings, and macadamia nuts. There you go. And Steve does he and his wife do a pretty good job of remaining in ketosis for most of the time. So they do a pretty much ketogenic type diet, which is amazing in its ability to improve metabolism. So all of those. So delicious, delicious. So here's my salad, it's almost gone. I don't think I'm eating any more of that. And then here is my hamburger. That's what I've eaten so far. So once again, some scheduling changes this week. And so I've pushed my fasting window forward about 24 hours, starting today, and then moving into the rest of the week. We will be back tomorrow for check-in, and then on Thursday for check-in, we'll be in a different location. Tonight we'll do our show, Dwain Woode MD Live, 7 p.m. Central. Wherever you are, come join us as we talk more about how we go about improving our metabolic health. How do we go about talking about these chronic diseases that everybody's talking about, and these diseases that are causing issues around the world, around the country. They tell me by 2050, 30% of everyone, 1 in 3, is going to be diabetic, doesn't have diabetes. That's an incredible number. And the numbers keep getting higher and higher and higher. So the way that we think about chronic disease, the way we think about metabolism is not working. And so the question is, what do we do? How do we improve that process? And that process gets improved by 3 things. And you hear it here: education, empowerment, and encouragement. Educate, empower, encourage. That's what we do here on the show. Steve, I do see that. He said, I hit 172. Oops. He said, I hit 172 pounds down from 223. Look at you, Steve. Love it. Congratulations for you. I don't have my sound with me, so I can't give you a hand clap, and some music right now. But we'll remind me this evening on the show. Okay. But love that. And those are the benefits that we see. Here's the thing. What Steve just said is a side effect of the process. When you become healthy, when you start improving your metabolism, the side effect of improving metabolism is the health benefit, is the fact that your blood sugar goes down, is the fact that your weight goes down, is the fact that your cholesterol improves, is the fact that your A1C is better, is the fact that your doctor has to take you off medication. It is a side effect of getting healthy. Right? So we talk about the things that happen, but we're not interested in a single thing. The question is, how do I become healthy? Because if I become healthy, then all of the things begin improving. And that's the beauty of the space that we're in right now. Anyway, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Glad that you were here. For those of you out there, join us tonight for Dwain Woode MD Live, 7 p.m. Central. We'll see you there. Remember, we educate, we empower. We encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives, which says that we are doing everything we can. We're not allowing anything to stop us from doing what we need to do to be successful. We're showing up with our best selves, our best health, and our best plans. We're breaking through the boundaries. We're pushing through the obstacles. We're not being confined by anything that's going to stop us. Nothing from outside and nothing from inside. So go live a limitless life, and we'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.